Hi, I'm Matt with etrailer, and today we're talking about the Feedback Sports Velo Hinge 2.0 bike wall mount. Now this is going to be a great option for you if you have a garage and you have your bikes mounted to the wall and you're running out of space, or it's really hard for you to park your vehicle. Having this system today is going to allow you to save a lot of space because you're going to be able to push this over to the side, and when you don't have a bike on here, you can actually fold that hook into itself to make your wall pretty flush. But let's take a closer look at it. To really show you guys what I'm talking about it saving space, I'm gonna get a measurement. That's gonna be from the wall to the furthest point out, which is gonna be our handlebars in this case. That's gonna be about 43 inches. So now when I fold this in, as you can see, this isn't gonna stick out near as far. And the closest point, or the furthest point we're gonna have at this time is going to be about 33 inches. So that's going to save you about 10 inches of space. There's a couple of things to think about though. Is the first thing, we have a hook over here that's preventing this from going any further in. So in theory, this will get even closer. And to go off of that is we have a large mountain bike with some pretty far out handlebars. Really, this is more designed for your road bikes too. So those handlebars are going to sit a lot more close. So you're going to get this really close to your wall. Part of the reason why I say this is more designed for road bikes is also the size of this hook. This hook is designed to fit tire sizes 3 inches wide and 3 7/8 inches in depth. And as you can see right here, we're really pushing that measurement right now. So like when you'll see later on when we're getting this tire or this bike up here, it's kind of a pain to do this because that door wants to open up as we're placing it in place, and it can be kind of tricky to do. Now if you do have a bike with more thin tires, like a road bike, that's going to be made a lot easier. And here's what that process is going to look like. Me just lifting up my bike. I have to grab mine at the forks just to get a little bit more control of it. And really just lining it up there. And see, the door already wants to open up. So I'm going to try to arrange this so it can sit on there. We also want to make sure we're not having all that weight leaning on here, so we want to make sure it's in the center. Part of what made that a little bit more difficult to put in place is we're going to have this textured tape on it. So that textured tape is actually really nice when you have a little bit of a smaller tire size, because it's going to help grip your tires so they're not spinning when they're up here. And at the bottom, we're going to have this secondary piece of hardware, and this is going to be a bracket that connects to your wall, and that's going to prevent your tire from sliding out way over here. As you can see, we already have a couple marks on our wall, and we were trying it out earlier without the bracket, and it really does make a difference. As for the weight capacity, that's going to be 50 pounds per bike, which is a decent amount too. Now, as you can see, this is a mountain bike and it's a little bit heavier. So that's when it really comes into play. When you're mounting this, it is very important to put this on the studs because you're going to have a lot of pressure pulling on that. And to go off of that, if you really needed to, you could put a smaller e-bike up here. I'd definitely make sure it meets those specs. You probably have to remove that battery too. And like I was saying earlier, this does have the ability to fold in on itself. So earlier when we swung it out, there's actually a door, and you can grab this hook and fold it in. And when you push it back into place, it's not going to take up any space at all really. Really it's going to just step up maybe like a little bit, half an inch or so, which is very flush to our wall. And since we're over here, we can take a closer look at that finish on top. Right now you can really see that textured finish, and that's going to do a good job of grabbing your tire. Well, it's going to have this black vinyl finish to it too, and it's just going to give it more of a clean look overall. And if this were outside, or maybe you're riding on your bikes and you have a lot of water left on them, this is going to help prevent any of that water from making contact with that steel and having it rust over time. This is a pretty great option if you are planning on getting maybe a couple bikes up here, because one, it doesn't take up a lot of space here, It's just a small state of real estate we have, and it does become more compact. Now, if you're looking for something that's going to be at a little bit more premium price point, but has the capacity to load even heavier bikes and accommodate those larger tire size, Steady Rack makes a great option too. It's going to have that ability to swing away. The only drawback to that is it's not going to take up or not be as small and compact and clean as this design we have right now. But if you are curious about how we got this up here, stay tuned and I'll walk you through the process. To start off with installation, we're actually going to grab our hook and we're going to find a good point to mount this to. So what we want to do is probably grab a stud finder and locate that stud. We're not going to do that today just because we do use this spot a lot for a lot of other hook-on accessories, and we just removed one, so I already know these holes are going to be lined up with the stud. After, when you've lined everything up, you know everything's going to be in the correct spot, we're going to grab our bike to figure out the height that this needs to sit. That process is just going to be grabbing your bike and lifting it up to your wall. You're going to line it up with the location where you marked out where your stud is, and have everything flush against your wall. After, when you've done this, we want to go to the lowest point where we're going to place our hook. And since that pretty much lines up with this hole, or it's pretty close, I'm just going to use this pre-existing hole. Now, you probably don't have any holes in your wall, so what you'll probably want to do is just grab a marker or a pen, mark this location so you know where you're going to place your holes at. To give you more of an idea of what I'm talking about, when I place this hook up here, I'm just going to line it up with this hole in the bottom. Since this hook is higher up, what's going to happen is it's going to grab your bike and hold it up a little bit higher up, so it's just going to be off the ground just by a little bit. Once you have that hole lined up, it's not a bad idea to mark out where your other holes are going to sit. You just kind of roughly mark this. As long as you have that lined up, we can start drilling. With those holes drilled, we're going to line everything up, make sure everything's looking good, and once it is, we're going to start putting our screws in place. And then we'll just repeat that process for the other two screws. We're going to test this out now. The way I like to do this is to grab the frame and grab the fork with my other hand, because when we are placing it up here, this is using a door, so that will want to swing open, and then we're just going to rest it on there. I like to make sure my tires are well situated. Everything's looking pretty good. To give you more in-depth look at that door opening, you're going to be able to swing away your bike now. The caveat off of that, though, is our rear tire is going to slide forward. So to prevent that, we're going to install an included stopper. And the way that's going to work is we're just going to put that right next to our rear tire on this side, and we're going to install this in the wall. This is going to be the same process where we're going to find our stud in the wall, and it should be lined up from the top, and you're going to pre-mark your holes, line everything up, and then drill this into place. We're going to throw this up here one last time to make sure everything's lined up, is looking good, and set it down. With it in place, I'm going to check my swing feature to make sure everything's in the right spot. Let me move my tire. There we go. And that's looking pretty good. And that was just a look at the installation and some of the features of the Feedback Sports Velo 2.0 bike wall mount. Thanks for watching.